Hey, what's up YouTube, Skybadger here, and we're back towards the end of day 24. So if we have a look at the leaderboards, we can see I'm in 3rd place. It's getting pretty close. France has taken the lead, Poland hasn't made much more advancements, and we have a significantly bigger army than any of our opponents, which is great. That's what a good economy does, guys. That's what a good economy does. You don't need to have the most land to have the biggest army, you just need to manage your economy, and you're all sweet. So I just like to point something out too, is this stat here, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I don't think it's all about the number of troops you have. I think it's about a mix. If we go into diplomacy, and we have a look at the size of mine, it is 141 troops, which is actually quite a lot for a map of the size. But if we have a look at Poland's, when it loads, he's got 162. So what I want to emphasize about this stat, guys, is it does take into account the mix of troops you have. So in this case, I believe it has given me the world's mightiest army because I have a diverse range of troops. Poland has a strong army, a lot of rockets, and aircraft spread all over the place. But his navy isn't quite as strong. I would be the only player in the game at the moment to field an air force consisting of both interceptors and tactical bombers, a navy consisting of not only subs, destroyers, cruisers, and battleships, but I'm also producing my first aircraft carrier, but I also have a wide range of troops on the battlefield. I have basic infantry, commandos, anti-air, artillery, anti-tank guns, and 1 tank at the moment. Should probably do something about that. Need a few more than that. So, guys, remember to take into account that when you see that stat, it's not all about numbers. If we have a look at Poland, though, we can see he has, some tank destroyers, and they're good to have and all, but when they're up against a front of infantry, not so much. You can see what I mean about the aircraft gear spread in the rockets. In a few days' time, whenever me and France do get around to it, when we attack, these are going to be our first targets. Our rockets will launch to destroy his. So we will be looking at targeting cities like this one here, up here, Warsaw, up around here, and up here. These tank destroyers aren't too much of a problem. That medium tank will be, that's not a tank destroyer. But, the tank destroyers shouldn't be too much of a problem considering we've got infantry. Now, I would also like to point out that militia is not a viable troop. It is the second worst troop in the game. The rocket fighter is the worst. Never ever build that thing, eh? People ask me if there's a use for the rocket fighter. There's not. If you know one, guys, please tell me, eh? Like, it's useless. Never ever build it. If you have a use for it, please tell me. I'm always looking for a use, but you might as well use artillery. So, next to the rocket fighter, worst troop in the game. 1 militia at the moment, defending with 2.7. If I was to attack with 1 infantry, I'd kick its ass. So, don't build militia, guys. Be smart. Okay, I know they're easy to build and they're cheap, but it's not worth it in the long term. So, if we have a look around at what's happening, there is a fair bit not going on. It's pretty boring at the moment, but we are, like I said, producing our first aircraft carrier. It'll be ready by the end of the day, and then we can put that into action. So to go with the first aircraft carrier, I'm also producing my first naval bomber. Naval bombers are useful in the Navy because it's the only way to spot subs. So, if I want to fight subs and have an effective Navy, I need naval bombers to be able to launch from carriers. So I'm building those, as well as upgrading my tactical bombers to level 4 so they can launch from my carriers as well. If we go back down here, we've now conquered all of North Africa. And back over here, things have stalled out. Poland. Just a little bit of advice if you're watching this, you should group your troops together. Having troops in an area like this is pretty useless. If I was your enemy, I wouldn't march up there. I'd march up here. So keep all your troops grouped at the center point. That way it's easier to defend a location. And the same goes here as well. You have these troops on these lines, and if you group them here, that would be a tough unit to fight. But at the moment, if I knew about that, all I'd do is I'd march my troops up to here, then march up to here, and into there. And only meet one light tank in resistance. So you should group your units together. Having troops placed like this just spreads them out and can make it harder to form an effective defense. As you can see here, this light tank has gone around, but it will probably be killed by this anti-tank. Actually, that could be a pretty close battle. Let's have a look. So it is going to defend with 7, but it's on planes, so the light tank will be attacking it with 6. This is going to be a close one, guys. That tank might actually win, considering it has more hit points. So, you know, group troops in the center makes it a lot easier to defend. In other happenings in the game, we fixed our food. We're positive again. And if we turn some barracks on, we can still run those. But I'm still continuing to improve my food situation and hopefully start to produce more. So luckily, with the period we're in at the moment, I've managed to come to peace with the northern United States, or northern states of America, same thing. And this is allowing me just to get that extra bit out of my economy. Like I've told you guys, we don't intend to fight them at the moment. As you can see, we're building up our subwall, and I'm only attacking here because there's a supply drop. And I kind of want the supply drop. It could be a lovely blueprint, and I don't play many of these games, so I'm trying to get all the blueprints I can while it's happening. So, as I said in the last video, we're gearing up to attack Poland. A bit of backstabbing, but it's not backstabbing because he already backstabbed me early on in the game, so we're getting that even, except I'm going to kill him. Unless something else happens first, which requires our attention. So, as you can see, we're slowly building up the front. Down here, I'm sending a lot more troops up into these forts to man them. France is bringing a lot of troops back. He's bringing back this massive unit here. And he's starting to produce more troops as well to go up onto the front. So, we're building a lot of infantry-based troops at the moment. As we've noticed, we don't have the oil production that our enemy Poland does. If we look at this, Poland, you know, has 2 core oil producing provinces. Me and France both only have 1. We both struggle for oil. As you can see here, although I'm making a fair bit, it's taken a lot to maintain that, and the amount of resources I've had to put into my oil production is immense. So we are relying a lot on infantry, and there's nothing necessarily wrong about that, because as long as you have the right counters, infantry is fine. It's a good mid-game unit, because when you've got plenty of goods, and you've got plenty of food, and plenty of manpower, it's easy to produce. And although it gets smashed, we know going up against tanks, you just need to play smart. You know, have your anti-tank guns sit out in front. Like if we go down to one of the groups I'm constructing down here at the moment, and we have a look. So this group here is going to march up to there, and when it gets there, that group will be 1 anti-tank gun, 1 anti-air, 2 infantry, 1 artillery, and 1 commando. So, you know, what you do with this unit here is you march it forward, and if you meet a tank, you send the anti-tank gun, the infantry, and the commando forwards, and leave the anti-air and the artillery behind. And you just have the artillery bomb until the tank retreats. If it's a bigger group, you send in more of these smaller groups to deal with it. But you don't attack them directly. It's a slow process, but you don't want to lose your troops. And if that tank wants to come forward and try to take you out, it will hit the anti-tank gun, and your infantry, and your commando, and that process will just be even faster then. Anti-tank guns are good at taking out tanks. So, there's not much more I can say. When I finish one of my carriers, it's going to be sent round to here, and so that when we do attack, I can send planes onto the carrier, and I can get sights into here and hopefully destroy most of those rockets and cut off troops that are trying to retreat back around. My navy will also do that, stopping troops retreating back around here, but the main use of the Air Force and having a carrier in here is I'll be able to hit troops that are retreating back. And that is a massive advantage in itself. So, thank you for watching. Well, it's probably going to be a while before me and France do engage because we still have a lot to do. So, some of these videos may be a little delayed so we don't give away our full battle plans. Wouldn't want to do that. So see you in the next episode.